Well, hello, happy Dragon family, coming to you on Tuesday. I realized last week I was remiss. The week got away from me and I never got to come on live and check in with you guys or answer any questions. So, coming to you now, making up for that. And we have a great question this week that I want to dive into with you guys. Also want to share, some of you guys have been aware and watching Uman Ra, Marlene Uman Ra, Dragon Weaver. She was one of my Dragon Hearts, went through the Quantum Flight program, and she is now full on in her soul's work, doing the activations of Gaia's fifth dimensional chakras. And she led the group, a really fantastic group came together from all over the globe this past Sunday morning and did everything that was necessary for the Glastonbury heart chakra of the fifth dimensional new earth, getting that portal ready to be handed over. When the Lyrans and the dragons pass their batons between each other, the portal is now fully open. Gaia's emerald heart has been activated. And so I want to commend not just Marlene for diving into her work and really waking up to that merge with herself and what her higher purpose is, but going through the trials and tribulations of how to put that together. When you get something really big that you're like, wow, this is what I just got from my dragon and my guides, and where do I start? And so I've watched her process, and I just want to give out a big kudos for the group that she's pulled together. She's found all the portal keepers and dragon riders, and it's powerful to see someone align into their work and to be a part of that. So I got to be a part of the group and just be holding space, do the piece that I do. But to see that group effort just seamlessly, easily flowing together. That's what happens when we align into our true work. Things flow, pieces come to you. The law of attraction brings the right things into your field for all the pieces that you need to learn. So if you're at that place where you've started getting insight of, this is my next step, dive into it, have the courage to go forward with it. I will tell you that everything on my journey since fall of 2002 has brought me into consistent, like, big leaps of faith. Getting on a plane to Glastonbury to write the For the Love of Dragons book, going to a workshop in Hawaii where I ended up merging with my dragon, quitting my job years in the fall of 2002, giving me time to actually remember my gifts and be in meditation daily. And even coming into fall 2017 and being led into what I'm doing now full time, because the earth was finally ready. The dragons and everything they bring, the collective was finally ready for it. And that's why it's been 7 years. Blows me away that it's been 7 years of full time with you guys. I look back and I see now I started this group, it was Thanksgiving weekend, 2017, and to see in 7 years the organic growth, because that's how it needed to be, was organically everybody finding their way here. And there's over 4,500 dragons that are part of this dragon family. And granted, they're not all there consistently. They're not all here for really working with the dragons and expanding into that, but they're being touched energetically by the group sphere that you guys create with me for this. And so having those posts and those questions and those experiences all posted in here where, even if they're here for something else, they start to get brought into that energy, and then they can start to be touched by their dragon guides and realize, like, whoa, maybe there's a bigger piece for me. So big shout out to the whole group, but particularly Marlene Uman Ra, Dragon Weaver, who is really diving in full into what she's here to do. And I'm always excited to see that. So today's question, it's interesting to see, because there's a lot of origin point, end point energy going on right now of coming full circle back to things. I've had a piece that I just realized that 2002, when I left, I was in Wyoming, and I left Wyoming in 2006, and I've come full circle now. I've realized I'm being drawn back there in the next couple of weeks, and again in August. I have completed 2 full 9-year cycles since I left. And so now I'm being brought into an origin point, end point completion there. And it sort of hit me square in the face, like, whoa, it's been 18 years. did not really realize that and how much has transpired since then. But in this endpoint completion point, I'm seeing another thing here with, here's Omen-Ra at the, not at the end of her journey, but like really going into for her full board merge with her dragon and what she's here to do. And my question that we're discussing today is from one of our new Dragon Hearts, one of our new members who's just starting to explore the dragon work. And she brought in a great question. So I'm going to read it here just so that it's really clear for everybody what she was asking. And it's Alexandra. And she says, you know, acknowledging she's new, but she says, since really starting to explore the energies and make connections, I've started to see a dragon's eye, sometimes red and sometimes gold when I close my eyes. Is this your experience at the beginning of forming a connection with the dragons? And I love that that's indeed, there are different times when the dragon eye shows up. And so I want to share a few different experiences so that you have that base as a knowledge point. But yes, one of the first things that dragons do to make themselves known, to check if you're ready, and I think Lemira Shara had responded to her question in the group that I think it has to do with being tested and are you ready for them? And indeed, that's a big part of it. The dragons will come in and they can be really intimidating, right? When they come full dragon, full size in your face, and not all of us are ready for that. And it doesn't mean the eye isn't intimidating, but by seeing an eye, we don't necessarily know like how big the full being is and aren't quite as intimidated to that level, right? So having that, and I'm just going to check and make sure my volume's all the way up. It is. Indeed, they will often present the eye both as a wink of hello, and even if they don't wink, it's a full eye usually looking at you. It may search you up and down. It may be really scanning your field and saying, is she ready, one, to see me fully, and two, for the work that I bring? And typically the dragons are not going to show up in your field unless you are ready for their work. But they're still doing that final test of like, all right, if I show you my eye, what's your reaction going to be? Are you going to jump in fear? Are you going to move forward in curiosity? Are you going to be like just sort of open or sort of close your field? And that's part of what they're testing as well. So I want to mention, because she specifically has seen a red eye and then a gold eye, that hit home for me because I've only had one dragon show me those same reflections. And so what's interesting about that is, Alexandra, I want you to explore and feel into, and if you don't have my book yet, if you ever do get it, read the section on Tiamat, Tianu, and Baraha. It's a fairly short section, but Tiamat is the mother of chaos. She's the origin energy, and she has been Gaia's guardian all along, and she was released, I want to say it was about a year ago, maybe a little over a year ago, that she finally was able to set Gaia free. And that means Gaia is now moving into her own expansion, her own individual autonomy as she moves into a fifth dimensional expression. She doesn't need the guardianship anymore. And so why I bring in Tiamat is because Tiamat always presents a red eye in 3D. Her eye will come and be red. And then the first time that I was working with her that was fairly in depth, and we went into a fifth dimensional expansion, and she showed me her eye had shifted to gold, that's her true frequency, that's more aligned with her true signature energy to have a golden eye. And that was a lesson for me in how energies present more or differently in 3D versus 5D and even higher dimensional spaces. So the red eye was the intimidation factor. In 3D, she had to be the guardian, the protector, the back off buddy type of energy with Gaia and protecting that space. So that red eye is typically very menacing, but her true signature is a golden eye. So I want you and anybody else who's perceiving those both to really explore what might Tiamat be presenting to you for. What is your deep connection with Gaia or earth energies? Does she have something to help you remember in your stewardship with the earth itself? And that she's also showing you in that reflection going between the red and the gold that you are going between the third and the fifth dimensional aspects and what is there as a reflection for you in those that she's trying to bring to your attention. So not just the scanning, the testing, but the dragons will start to bring things in for your attention. So that's where I want to read. Some of you have the deck already, the Divining with the Dragons Oracle deck, which is, this is the guidebook from. And the Eye of the Dragon card is this one. And the Eye of the Dragon card is about healing, testing, challenge. But I want to read it for you because some of you listening, and I think Alexander maybe one, don't have the deck yet. And this will give you another level of insight, particularly those that are not necessarily new on the path and you're finding eyes showing up. I also have had eyes always show up when I do an activation or a portal opening with land. For example, in Sedona, the first activation I did with my first Dragonheart program group, we were down in Sedona, and all 4 portal points around the center activated. And as soon as we went to do the final one, actually it was the second to final one, I knew it was actually complete, even though we still needed to do the other 2 physical pieces. The energetic was complete because the eye, it was Tiamat's eye, comes to the surface as if to say, who's opening one of the portals around Gaia? And I would see her eye, and it was that red eye looking up through, and then she would sort of wink at me or give me that nod of, got it, wonderful, one portal open. So if you're activating and opening portals, you may see an eye as well coming up to sort of see like who's about, what are they doing, and sort of that check-in of like, oh, somebody opened a gateway, better check in on it. So just be aware of that. But this is another insight, and I'll just read it directly from the book for you. So vulnerability is the true keyword. So even though the 3 words on the card itself are healing, testing, and challenge, vulnerability is the key core of the Eye of the Dragon. When the Eye of the Dragon is upon you, there is nowhere to hide. What are you trying to hide from or avoid having be seen in your life? Have you drawn the eye because you are ready to be tested? If the dragon were to test you, what would be your weakness? The first thought that comes in is what your challenge is at this juncture of your life. Once you have clarity, the eye can then be used to quickly move through or release things. It is one of the greatest gifts to be drawn into the dragon's eye, and I'll talk about that in a minute, and receive a very deep clearing and healing. If you do this, pay attention to which dragon has presented its eye and is inviting you in. This will give you even more information. It may be wise to go back and read that dragon's card. You may also simply need to allow yourself to be more vulnerable. So in that being drawn into the dragon's eye, what does that mean? So in the book, also at the back, after the original writing, I had to add in and republish it because the dragon started presenting the work in the Eye of the Dragon. And so described in the book is working in the eye of all 4 elemental dragons and how you get drawn into this internal chamber. So when you're in meditation and there's a dragon presenting and they drop their eye to you, they are literally inviting you to come into that inner chamber for a much deeper, whether it's healing, releasing, insight, clarity. There's a deeper level of work that happens by moving into their eye. And there's an internal chamber that opens up, almost like a sphere around you that has a very specific experience designed for it. So in moving into that, I've described through the book, and that's been available for years, right? The elementals and how to work with them into the eye. But you can be invited into the eye of any dragon that you're working with. So that can be the Orion dragons, the gold, silver, copper. That can be the titanium, platinum, mercury dragons of Sirius. That can be the Pleiadian dragons. That can be the Andaran dragons. That can be the Arcturans, the Middle Earth dragons. Any of the beautiful gemstone quality ones, the ruby, the sapphire, the garnet, the peridot, the amethyst. So whichever dragon it is, that dragon will have specific characteristics, which is why I recommend read about it if you don't have a sense of it. But then allow yourself, if they're presenting that opportunity, to be pulled into the eye, or if you're feeling really drawn, I want deeper work with you, you can ask permission, would you let me work in your eye would you invite me into that internal space and see what happens? If they do, they'll bow their head down, and then you literally get almost like magnetized in, energetically drawn into that chamber from where you're sitting in relation with them in your meditation, and them directly in front of you, where you just are brought into them. So they're all powerful experiences. Each of them comes at different stages of your journey, but that should give all of you a little insight into the bigger picture of what's going on when that happens. And hopefully, Alexander, that answered your question. I know you weren't alone in asking that, which is why we always discuss live for the whole family, because several hundred will go and watch this replay and pick up something from that, which is why I love doing this. You know, I love bringing you guys tools and answering your questions. So please always post them. I do, even if I don't get to them right away, like she asked, I think 3 days ago, and I'd meant to type in something and got sucked into something else. Distraction happens in my world because there's a million things going on every day, and lots of, whether it's readings or answering emails with clients or so many things. But I do always circle back around to it. So sending many blessings for a beautiful week, whether it's spring or fall for you. And take advantage of this group. You know, this For the Love of Dragons group was created specifically to have an environment where you can share your dragon experiences and have feedback and kickback from connections of other people who are having the same kind of experiences or had something similar, and you guys can share and build on that. Because there's a lot of dragon groups out there that are just about loving them and sharing their artwork and sharing the jewelry and sharing things you find out in nature. And I love seeing those, particularly in this group, more so than artwork and jewelry and all the other pieces, because that's where we start our connection. When we start waking up to them, we start to see them in the land, in the waters, in the skies. And, you know, that's why I did a whole course on that. The Planetary Healing with the Dragons course that's on the website is all about that. What do you do when you see them in the woods? Why are they calling to you? You see them in the rocks. I had amazing experiences in Sedona in particular, but all over the world, in Tibet, in Lake Tahoe. I've come into contact with them even all over China when I was there. And now I pay attention. I mean, down in South Africa, Egypt, it's amazing. I was so gifted early on in my journey. I was in Egypt not long after I wrote the book, and was asked to call in the air dragons while we were in hot air balloons. I mean, talk about an amazing experience, being in a hot air balloon over the desert and calling the air dragons in for both balloons of people. It was really phenomenal. So I have a treasure trove of stories and things that I've gotten to experience in my life, and I'm sharing that so that you guys will have that as well, if that's what your dragon journey is meant to bring about. And that is a big part of it, is waking to the magic of what this 5D reality is as we move into that core connection and really open up those telepathic channels. Life becomes magic, and it's so amazing to see how my life was before and how it is now. It doesn't mean I still don't have 3D stuff. I've got kids and their exams and their stuff, and even my own challenges in 3D, but they get so much softer, they get so much easier and more in flow, and they drop away either in significance or that they just don't happen as much anymore compared to how my life used to be. And so that's why I'm here. That's why I do what I do. And I'm sending that blessing out to all of you guys, that you wake up to your path and get there. And if you need insight or you need a little boost, let's have a conversation. You know, I do 20-minute free discovery calls. I know that my schedule coming forward, at least in the next month, I've got some time blocked out because I have to be out of town. But, you know, calendar goes up to 3 weeks out. I'm not booked for the next 2 years. Just keep looking for something if you want to have a short 20-minute call together and discuss, like, what would be your next move? What's the best thing for you to go for as, like, a tool that would be best fit for you? Or just even share your experiences and kick them off somebody. Love to do that. I meet amazing people and amazing dragon family on those calls. So wishing you a beautiful week. I will see you next week, and send your questions. I love answering them. Bye for now. See everybody.